Hey guys, it's Dr. May. How are you today? Welcome to another Sensorimotor Psychotherapy video. Today we're going to be talking about the way we walk through the world. And in lesson 17, we had talked about posture. So this one kind of like builds on that other original lesson. So now that we're in the moving forward section, right? So we're going to say, how can we literally move forward better and more effectively with the way we walk, right? So learning about the way we walk, why we walk that way, and maybe adjusting it so that it fits our current lifestyle a little bit better. Okay, so here we go. There we go. Hit the wrong button for a second. Okay. So moving through the world, how we walk. Okay, so as you could probably guess, because it's very similar to some of our other lessons, our walking style communicates something, right? When you watch somebody walk, you could probably guess some things about the way the person's thinking, the way they feel about themselves, and maybe something in their background as well. And so we also convey the same kind of things when we walk, right? So it's a powerful nonverbal communication, just like some of our other facial expressions and gestures and postures and things like that, okay? So when we walk, people are thinking things about us. They're guessing the way we feel, you know, and what we expect from other people, right? It kind of communicates in our relationships and our interactions, things that, you know, we might be feeling about relationships and things like that. Okay. Even the way we talk about walking says something about where we're at in our life and, you know, how we're feeling about how things are going, right? So if I say things such as, I want to move forward, right? It's like, I want to move forward in my life. I want to, you know, get to other things. I want to maybe make progress. I need to get up and go, right? I'm sick of staying still. I need to do something. I feel like I'm walking on air. Maybe I'm happy. Maybe I'm, you know, on a cloud, so to speak. I feel like I'm treading on thin ice. So that's kind of like, maybe I'm in trouble. Things are kind of shaky, you know? I have to walk on eggshells. Like, unfortunately, that's a very pejorative way of talking about people with borderline personality disorder a lot of the time, but kind of saying like, you know, maybe I have to be careful about the way I'm acting around someone because maybe I'm trying to prevent them from getting mad at me or, you know, really reacting very strongly. Saying things such as, I'm stuck in the mud. Maybe I'm stuck in my life. I can't move forward, or I feel trapped. Okay. So maybe you've said some of these things, or maybe you're thinking some of these things about your life. And it could be also reflected in your actual way of walking, but it's just kind of shows the symbolism, right, that walking can have for us. Okay, so as you could probably guess, our walking is something that it develops over time. It's not just a physiological thing, right? It's not just a matter of putting one foot in front of the other. There's a meaning to it. And our style of walking started to develop as soon as we were able to walk. You know, it's one of our procedural patterns. It's like an unconscious memory that we're showing ourselves and others through the way we move, right? And if we're stuck in old styles of walking that were adapted from the past, it may prevent us from moving forward in our present, okay? It could actually reinforce and keep us stuck in limiting emotions and beliefs because our walking reflects those beliefs. It reflects the way we feel. So if we keep walking in that style, it keeps us more stuck in certain emotions and beliefs that we may want to start to let go of as we move forward in our life, okay? All right, so what influences our walking style? So as you can see, everything in that black box on the top contributes to the way we walk now, which is symbolized by the picture on the bottom. Okay, so first thing is our anatomy. So there might be actual physical things that influence our walk. So if you have pain, let's say even pain in your knees or your hips or your joints, that could influence the way you walk, all right? Some people have, you know, a deformity such as one leg longer than the other, or, you know, pigeon toes or other kinds of things, and that influences their walking, right? There's other probably things I'm not thinking of as well. I'm not a medical person, but, you know, so there's actual, you know, physical things. Next, our history. Okay, so this is a little bit more psychological, so a little more my speed. So when we were a kid, we might have actually started to imitate the way our parents walked. Ever see parents and kids walking down the street and one looks like a little version of the other, like they have a similar kind of bounce in their step and stuff like that, right? So we kind of unconsciously could imitate the way our parents walk. Our attachment patterns, the way we relate to our caregivers, could also influence our walking style. And even our trauma history could influence our walking style. Okay, next we're going to move over to our core beliefs about ourselves, others, and the world. So all those beliefs are reflected in our walking style and are reinforced by our walking style. So if I feel bad about myself, or if I feel like I'm victimized by others, or, the world is never, in my favor, things just don't work out for me, that's reflected in my walk, okay? My emotional biases. So if I tend to be sad a lot of the time, that's reflected in my walk. If I tend to be anxious, that's reflected in my walk, okay? If I'm happy, that's reflected in my walk. So all my common emotions are, part of my gait, okay? Everything goes together, body-mind connection. And of course, we can't discount what we're currently going through right now. So my current experience and what the context I'm in also can have an influence, right? So if I'm around people that I'm comfortable with, I might walk differently than if I'm around people I'm very uncomfortable with, okay? Or if I'm in an environment where I feel welcome versus unwelcome, or, if I'm gonna, present something and I feel nervous about it, that could influence my walk, my current feeling state, okay? So there's some like long-term general stuff, right, about my history, beliefs, and emotional biases that are kind of more general overall walking style influences. And then there's some variations based on what's currently going on. Okay, makes sense? All right, next. Okay, so we're going to go through a few examples of walking styles and how they could be influenced by these different factors. Okay, so just see if anything sounds familiar to you. Maybe you could personally identify with some of these walking styles, or somebody that kind of embodies that. All right, so just kind of reflect as I describe some of these to you. Okay, so let's say part of my anatomy, right? Maybe it's not my physical anatomy, maybe it's just a current state, as I feel kind of tired and low energy. So that could lead me to contribute to my sad and defeated walking style. My history, let's say just for an example, okay, my parents were always busy and they were always occupied with other things. Maybe they had a few different jobs. Maybe there's a lot of kids in the family. There's a lot of chores to do, okay? And for whatever the reason it was, I didn't get the attention that I felt I needed at that time. And so therefore, because they didn't have much time for me, I started to adapt by thinking, you know what, I'm not going to worry about expressing my needs or wants because they just aren't going to have time. All right, so what's the point? Some of my core beliefs might then become, I'm a burden and I don't deserve good things. Okay, and I'm drawing this conclusion because I'm little and I see that my parents just didn't have much time for me. Okay, I might have then experienced the emotional bias of being more than often sad or hopeless or defeated. And then all those things could combine to give me a general walking style of looking like the guy in the bottom, maybe litter energy, my spine's a little more collapsed, heavy steps, I kind of plod along, slow gait, I'm dragging my feet, okay? So those history things could give me that general walking style. Also, in my current experience, let's say I'm around somebody that makes me feel not so good about myself, maybe makes me feel inferior, or, like there's something wrong with me, or I'm not important. That could also contribute to that, okay? So I could take on this walking style even just temporarily if I'm currently feeling those ways. Or I could have a general walking style like that because of my background, okay? All right, so here's another one. All right, I could personally identify with this one a little bit. When I was a kid, or even older, I had an intense-driven walking style. Always walking fast, running up the stairs, running down the hallway. People always say, stop running, slow down, okay? My motor was always running, okay? So I could personally identify with this one. So anatomy, one of the things that could influence is just being restless, even having akathisia, which could be a side effect of the medication, which makes you feel like you have to keep moving, right? Having a lot of energy. History, for example, maybe your parents only paid attention to you when you were achieving, or they stress the need to achieve, right? Achieve in school, achieve in a sport, achieve in music, whatever it happened to be. And it was important for you to be who they wanted you to be so that they could give you more love and more acceptance. Okay. But you might have developed beliefs such as, I'm not good enough just as I am. I'm only worthwhile when I'm accomplishing something. So it gives me that drive to keep accomplishing, keep producing, keep doing more. All right. Anxious and driven might be part of your emotional experience. So if those are common history things for you, for example, it might lead you to have an intense driven walking style. So maybe you're tense, your shoulders are hiked up, you're looking straight ahead, you know, you're leaning forward into your walk. You have a hurried, rushed gait, right? Your whole body might be leaning forward because you're trying to get to that next destination. You're trying to like get there faster, make sure you're getting it done, right? Okay, current experience. So whether or not that's your history, the current experience can influence this as well. So maybe you have this walking style today because you're running late for something. Or maybe you're just really busy and preoccupied and you're just kind of trying to move around, get stuff done. Or maybe you're going to be meeting up with people that will be judging your performance now, right? Maybe at work or maybe at school, there's something going on and, you know, you're worried about what they're thinking. So you're moving ahead, you're driven, okay? All right, here's another one. All right, so this is called the tough guy walking style. All right, you don't have to be a guy to do it, but you know, it's a little bit more stereotypical of like a tough guy kind of a thing. All right, so anatomy, maybe it's influenced also by being strong, muscular, or tense. All right, think of like, you know, kind of walking around like that. All right, so let's say a history example could be, my family wanted me to be strong and avoid vulnerability. Right, maybe I had to always be on guard to fight back, to argue back, to like defend myself. And so that influenced my desire to be, you know, more tough and to like use my walk to influence, to express that, okay? Maybe my core belief going along with that could be, I can't show weakness and I'll be attacked if I'm vulnerable. Because maybe that was my experience. Maybe if I showed weakness or I cried or I showed sadness or anxiety, people made fun of me or they attacked me or they scolded me. So I had to keep a stiff upper lip, be a little tougher, right? Maybe part of that style is holding back emotions such as those vulnerable emotions. Maybe I'm hyper vigilant for being criticized. Maybe I'm a little angry and have a chip on my shoulder. Okay, so all those things can combine together to lead to that tough guy walking style, such as on the bottom where your shoulders back, your chest is out, maybe you're looking straight ahead, your chin is up, have that tough guy swagger, okay? Other things in your current experience that could influence this. So let's say you were perceiving a physical, emotional, or social threat. So you feel threatened. So instead of allowing it to possibly make you vulnerable, you're gonna armor up and be a tough guy, all right? Or maybe, you know, you're in a situation where your desire is to intimidate or dominate in order to keep control over the situation, okay? All right, how about some nice yellow to perk you up over here, okay? All right, so happy, confident walking style, nice and sunny, happy, right? So we got a yellow color. So my anatomy, maybe I'm energetic, I'm at ease. Family history, so maybe, you know, I was lucky enough to have a family member, you know, family members who were supportive of one another and they were generally happy. Maybe they walked in a happy kind of a way. I kind of learned to imitate it. So therefore I'm developing beliefs such as, you know, good things will probably happen to me. Things tend to work out, you know, things tend to go my way. Others treat me well. So I could just openly walk in a kind of happy, confident way, right? So my emotions, therefore, joyful, happy, confident. Okay, so therefore on the bottom, let's say, that guy's walking in a happy, confident way with his head up, shoulders down and back, aligned posture, able to make comfortable eye contact with people who's passing by. Arms are swinging in a comfortable way, little bounce or spring in your step, okay? Also contributing to this could be a current experience where, let's say you're with somebody that makes you feel good, or your things are going well for you today. So, you know, you feel that happy, confident, you know, kind of vibe, and you're walking that way as well. Okay, so now have a whole bunch of exercises to help us practice this. Okay, I have a hard time moving this. Okay. All right, so I got these pictures from the Sensorimotor Psychotherapy textbook exercise because I wanted to make sure it corresponded properly to what they were asking us to do. So I didn't want to find pictures on the internet that weren't quite capturing it. So although these are illustrations, we could look at them carefully and try to get what we can from them, okay? All right, so as you can see, there's 6 pictures here, and each of them tries to convey a different style of walking. I know it's a still picture, but we could just imagine, you know, what that person might look like when they were walking, okay? So for each picture, I want you to look at them one at a time. Describe how you think the person feels. Okay, I know we don't know for sure, but we could take a guess, right? Describe what you think that person's walk conveys to other people about that person, right? What kind of things are you guessing about that person based on only the way they're walking in their body language? Number 3, describe what you think might be difficult for each person. Interesting question, right? So you think based on the way the person might be walking, they have difficulty feeling vulnerable. Or maybe they have difficulty feeling certain emotions such as being happy, or maybe have difficulty feeling angry, okay? Maybe they struggle with being assertive and expressing what their needs are. Maybe they have difficulty having close relationships with people or being successful at something such as work, okay? So those are just some examples, but just take some guesses for each person, okay? So even the ones that look kind of confident might struggle with something else. Number 4, think about which walk is most familiar to you and which walk is least familiar to you. Maybe there's certain walks that you feel like you've done before or that you've seen in others, so it feels familiar, and you know, other ones that you haven't done before or you haven't really seen too much in others, okay? So that's our first exercise. Our next exercise, okay. So here's some examples of 6 different ways of walking. Okay, so first one is called like a heavy way of walking. So you could just look at that guy and see the heaviness, right? He can't even hold himself up. He just feels so heavy inside. Heads down, shoulders down. Maybe his walk is kind of heavy, plodding heavily on each foot. You know, the weight of your body is hitting each ground and hitting the ground in a heavy way each time your foot hits the ground. Okay, on the other hand, is a bouncy way of walking. So sometimes it's very light and bouncy and moving, and you're swinging your arms and there's a spring in your step. Other times there's a rigid way of walking. Okay, so you're walking, but maybe you're a little stiff, maybe your shoulders are stiff, you're not moving your arms too much, your back is kind of stiff, maybe your stomach is pulled in, your chin's up or tucked in, okay? All right, next one is head forward, okay? So maybe you're leaning forward into where you want to go. You're kind of leading with your head as you move. Other one, well, it kind of looks like a head forward too, but this one's a little bit more slumped, right? So maybe you're walking with your spine slumped and collapsed, heads down, arms hanging limp, looking at the ground, okay? Probably similar to heavy, but they, you know, kind of broke it up into heavy and slumped, okay? So maybe some overlap there. Okay, and swagger, which is probably a little similar to bouncy too, all right? But there's a sense of like confidence there, right? Walking with a swagger, taking long strides, swinging your arms, okay? So I realize, you know, again, there's some overlap, but this is what they presented to us, so we'll work with it, okay? All right, so here's the assignment. You're gonna try out each way of walking, okay? So do your best just to imitate each style. Maybe, you know, find a place where you could walk without people staring at you so you don't feel too self-conscious about it, okay? So as you're doing these different ways of walking, for each one, all right, notice how does the walk feel in your body? How does this walk feel like emotionally, all right? Does just walking that way stimulate certain emotions in you? Then how do you feel about yourself when walking this way? Okay, do you feel confident? Do you feel insecure? Do you feel, you know, like you're worth being around people connecting with you? Do you feel like you're not worth relationships? What does it feel like? For example, what belief might his walk convey about you? I think that's a typo. Probably this walk, sorry. What belief might this walk convey about you? All right, so maybe people are gonna make certain assumptions about you. All right. Sorry, 5, how might other people respond to you? How are other people responding to you? Probably 5, I'm sorry about that typo. I think it must be like, what kind of beliefs are you having while you're walking this way? I apologize about that. I should have read that more carefully. Okay. All right. Next, we'll move past that mistake there. Okay. So now we're going to try to identify our own natural walking style, right? So we explored some and tried some out, but what about when I don't try to do this exercise? How do I naturally walk? Okay. So just practice walking somewhere for a while in a place where you could just focus on the way you're walking with minimal distractions. Okay. And then as you're walking, do your best to answer these questions below. I'm going to print this out on a little piece of paper and take a peek while you're walking. That could be something you could do. Okay. All right. So joints, notice how your joints feel as you walk. Okay. Notice if your joints are tight or if they feel loose, or maybe certain ones feel tight and other ones feel loose. Okay. So just go joint by joint throughout your body and just take note of the joints as you're walking. Okay. Number 2, what's going on with your arms? Okay. Are you swinging your arms? Are you swinging them a lot or a little? Are they straight? Are they bent? Are they bending at the elbow? Is one swinging more than the other, right? So just kind of explore what your arms are doing. Okay, next, think about the rhythm of your walk, right? Does you have kind of like a fast rhythm, right? Is it kind of short, staccato? Is it flowing? Is it kind of uneven, disjointed? All right, look, think about the rhythm of your walk. Okay, more questions. Okay, there's a lot to think about. You got to take a long walk for this one or break it up into a couple of walks. Okay, so what beliefs might be conveyed by your walking style? Okay, so what kind of beliefs, do I think this walking style reflects, right? What am I believing about myself, others, in the world? What is this walking style showing about my beliefs? Next, notice, do you roll from your heel to your toe with each step, pushing off with your toes? Or is some other thing going on with the way your feet move? Describe the quality of your walk, such as, is it hesitant? Is it curious? Is it energetic, purposeful, or some other quality that you could think of? All right, then notice if your body's slumped over, rigid, leaning forward, or leaning backward. Okay, can you tell which part of your body you lead with, right? So like before we talked about leading with our head, but sometimes we could lead with our hips. Sometimes our whole upper body's leaned over, right? So what's leading when we walk? Okay, what emotions are expressed by your walking style? Okay, so what kind of emotions are coming out as you're walking in your usual way? And what might your walking style convey about you? Like what kind of social signals are coming out here? What are other people possibly assuming about you based on the way you walk? All right, so we got a lot to think about here. Who knew there's so much into walking, right? All right. This is an interesting one because it has to do with our relationships, with our attachment. So this one's called walking with someone significant, okay? And you don't actually have to walk with someone for this exercise. It's just like contemplating a remembering kind of a thing. So first we're gonna think of 3 people that have been significant in our life, okay? In a good way or a bad way. It doesn't have to be, only 3 great people. It could be any people that were playing a significant role in some way. Right? Such as a partner, child, close friend, teacher, coach, mentor, therapist, parent, etc. Okay. Okay. So just name those people. Then we're going to go for another walk. Okay. You're going to burn a lot of calories doing these practices, right? All right. So go for a walk somewhere by yourself and just take note how you're walking. Just walk in your usual way. Okay. It's like a baseline. So during the walk, you're going to imagine that one of those significant people you picked is standing next to you, walking with you. So then describe how your walk changes when you imagine that person with you, okay? If it does change. So these are some things that might change as you imagine that significant person with you. So is your walking becoming faster or slower? Is it heavier or lighter? Are your strides becoming longer or shorter? What happens to your spine? Does your spine lengthen or does it slump? Does it get more rigid? Does your head position change? Do you start looking down? Does it tilt a certain way? Like you're leaning toward the person or leaning away from the person? Does your chin lift up? Does your chin go down, right? So notice these little subtle changes in your head. Then notice what your eyes are doing. When you're imagining being with this person, does it change where you're looking at? Like, does it change where you're looking more straight ahead or more at the ground, for example, or shifting around, looking around you, your eyes darting in different directions? Okay. Next, we're going to notice what's happening to our chest. Does our chest puff up? Does it kind of sink down? Do our shoulders sag? Do our shoulders hike up? Okay. So a lot of little things we could notice just imagining being with a significant person. Okay. Now the exercise said to do this with one person, but obviously you could try it a couple of different times and think about different people while you're doing it. You could also try it when you're actually with somebody and you choose to tell them or not. Okay. So let's say you're walking with a friend and you just, you don't tell the friend you're thinking about how things are changing, but you're just being mindful of these changes. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot there's even more questions. Okay. So while you're imagining walking with someone significant, how do your emotions change? Okay. Do you feel happier, more joyful, or do you feel more disappointed, inadequate? Or do you feel more edgy or nervous? So how do your emotions reflect it in your walk? Then what thoughts or beliefs do you seem to have about yourself when you imagine this person walking with you? Excuse me. Does it change the way you feel about yourself, just being with this imaginary person? And what do the changes in your walk seem to tell you about this relationship and how this person has influenced you? Okay, so if it's making you feel better, what's this telling you about your relationship with this person? If it's making you feel more inadequate, what's that telling about your relationship with that person? All right, just for examples. All right, so then just do a little reflecting at the end about how this person walking beside you affected your walk, and how might what you learned about things you observed influence the way you walk, right? So maybe it's like, wow, this person really, just thinking about it, made me perk up more, made me have more of a spring in my step and better posture and just be more open. Maybe I could then capitalize on those things and use them as resources and add them into my regular walk more often, because I like the way I feel when I was walking that way. Okay, so that might be something you could kind of capitalize on in the future, just because imagining being with that person you loved really helped you. Okay, just as an example. Okay, next, more observing, guys. All right, so observing your walk. So now I'm going to walk for a few minutes in your natural way, and then you're going to pay attention one at a time to the different elements of walking listed below. Okay, so one is how your feet engage and land on the ground, all right, how you kind of move through. The speed and the length of your stride. You take a lot of fast little steps, or you take a lot of long strides, you slow, you fast, okay? Your posture, tension patterns, right? So is there any spots in your body that are tense while you're walking? And the way your arms swing, okay? We did touch on some of these before, but then we're gonna bring them back for this particular exercise. So then as you observe your natural walk, what do you notice about each element of your walking? So think about them one by one as you do your walk. And again, you could print this out or write these down and just glance at it as you're walking, just to kind of keep them fresh. So then just as an experiment, okay, exaggerate each element slightly, and then describe how that impacts your building blocks, including your thoughts, emotions, and body sensations. Okay, so for example, let's say I notice that I'm a bit of a fast walker. Okay, I notice I'm walking fast. So if I exaggerate it, I'm going to walk a little faster. Okay, and then I'm going to notice how that's influencing, my building blocks. Okay, or if I notice I'm a little slumped, I'm going to slump a little bit more and notice how that influences, right? So it makes it like a little more exaggerated and clear to see how my walking style influences my thoughts, my emotions, and my body sensations. Okay. All right, so now that I've gathered some data about my natural way of walking, I'm going to practice maybe modifying my walk a little bit, just in very small ways that aren't going to freak me out, but that are going to maybe make a little bit of a difference. So I'm just going to slowly give these a try as an experiment. Okay, and if they start to feel good to me and I want to incorporate them into my regular walk, I can make the choice to start to do that. Okay. But sometimes it's good to just do it a little at a time. Don't change things too radically because it's going to feel a little uncomfortable. Okay. So as I do this, I'm going to notice the effect again on my building blocks, my emotions, thoughts, body sensations. So we're going to take the elements from here one at a time, and I'm going to describe some different ways you can modify to make your walk a little bit healthier. Okay. And a little bit more related to positive emotions and feeling good about yourself and feeling more open to other people and so forth. Okay, so we're going to start with speed and length of our stride. So what we're going to do is just be mindful and try to make our stride short enough so that we could easily land on the flat of our heel, okay, so that our feet can roll through. So if I'm walking too fast, which I sometimes do, right, I'm going to slow down my rapid walking. If I feel like I'm walking a little too slow, I'm going to speed it up a little bit by maybe taking more strides. Not necessarily by making my strides as long as possible, but, you know, just taking a little bit more, going a little bit faster. Okay. So if I'm a little depressed, let's say, or I'm feeling a little insecure or shameful, my walk might be kind of slow. So maybe I'm just going to speed it up a little bit, bring a little more energy there. Okay. Next, posture. Okay. So again, reminiscent of lesson 17, which exclusively talked about posture, but now we're going to bring it into our walk. So I'm going to try to have a healthy, aligned posture as I'm walking, which means, right, my shoulders relaxed, back and down, my neck aligned with my shoulders, my chin not too down, not too up, kind of parallel with the ground. I'm going to kind of freely look ahead and around me, you know, rather than looking down, for example. Just kind of gently lengthen my spine, like imagining a string pulling me up, and try to walk tall. Kind of hug my navel to my spine, engaging my TVA muscles. So I'm not too like stomach kind of hanging out and weak. I'm kind of keeping the TVA muscle, which wraps around my abdomen, a little bit stronger to kind of support my posture. I'm going to gently push up with my head and down with my feet. And so it kind of gradually and gently lengthens my posture. Okay. So I'm going to slowly experiment with some of these things and improve my posture as I'm walking. See what that feels like, right? How does that affect my emotions, thoughts, and body sensations? Okay, so more things to try. Okay, how your feet engage and land on the ground. So I'm going to try to relax the muscles of my feet and toes, right? Not keep my feet too stiff. I'm going to kind of loosen them up. Point my feet and knees forward. Land on my flat of my heel. Make a rocking motion from heel to toe. Sorry, that should say heel to toe, not heel to toe. And you could even think heel to toe, heel to toe, heel to toe, right? Kind of like a mantra while you're walking. And just give a gentle push off with your toes. So it gives you that little bit of spring in your step. All right, next, we're going to look at tension patterns. So slowly scan your body, you know, like a body scan in motion, okay? From your head to your feet or your feet to head, noticing any areas of tension. So if I notice the tension, I'm going to just try to relax it. So if I notice the tension in my shoulders, I'll try to relax it. If I notice I'm squeezing my stomach in, I'm going to try to relax it. Okay. Try to relax my joints. Let my head gently lengthen upward. Okay. In case I'm doing one of those turtle things. And pay attention to my breath and relax with each exhale. Right. Because if I have a relaxed breath, it helps me have a relaxed set of muscles. So I'm going to do that, relax the tension, and notice how that impacts my building blocks. Then finally, we're going to look at my arm swing, okay? So I'm going to try to freely swing my arms without being too self-conscious of it in a just gentle way, right? I don't have to exaggerate and do one of these, right? But I'm not going to keep them stiff by my side either. Just kind of gently, you know, move my arms back and forth so that if I'm, let's say, stepping forward with my left foot, my right arm comes forward. Step forward with my right foot, my left arm comes forward, right? I'm not going to do parallels, right? Because that's not really a natural movement. Just kind of let it swing gently in rhythm, okay, forward and back, and keep it at your side without like crossing in front or anything that might feel a little unnatural, okay? So practice a gentle arm swing and then check in again with your building blocks of emotions, thoughts, and body sensation. Okay, so now we're going to talk about mindful walking. Okay, so before we talk about the actual exercise of mindful walking, I'm going to share some guidelines with you that could help. Okay, so if you ever want to take a mindful walk, whether during this exercise or somewhere else, these are some things you could keep in mind. Okay, so we're going to focus on our body sensation and movement while we're walking. So when you're mindful, you're being aware on purpose in the present moment. Okay, using your senses. So I'm going to be aware first of my body sensations and movements. So I'm going to be mindful of those building blocks. Okay, so I'm going to notice, the way my feet feel on the ground, the way I'm moving forward, the way my arms are swinging, the way my posture is, all the kinds of things we just talked about. You can even notice my breath. Sometimes there's specific exercises about breathing and walking, even counting your breaths with your walk. All right. So the next thing I'm going to tune into are things around me. Right. So first I'm tuning in, and then I'm going to tune into the outside, the externals. So I'm going to orient to my surroundings. I'm going to use my senses to notice what I'm seeing, what I'm smelling, what I'm hearing, okay? And just kind of try to take it in. I could try to tune into one sense at a time if that's helpful for me. Otherwise, I could just kind of use the open awareness, mindful skill to kind of just take all my surroundings in from me, with me. Okay. Okay, next. If anything distracts me from this mindful walking practice, all I have to do is recognize that I'm being distracted and bring my attention back. Okay. Oh, I'm lost in my thoughts again. Let me bring my attention back to the way my body feels or to my surroundings. Okay. Simple as that, without making a big fuss about it. Okay. So now that we're aware of what these guidelines are, we're going to give this a try. Okay. So on your next walk, okay, wherever you happen to be walking, you could practice walking mindfully. So this is one of those mindfulness practices that you could do pretty easily. All you have to do is remember to do it, okay? Because we walk pretty often, if we're fortunate enough to be able to walk, okay? Like I know there's folks out there who might, have a certain handicap and not be able to walk. But if you are able to walk, you could walk mindfully wherever you happen to go, okay? So again, we're going to notice what sights, sounds, and smells happened during your particular walk when you did your mindful walking practice. You can even notice things such as like the wind or the temperature, okay? You know, what did you notice about your movement and sensation? Notice how you were feeling. And notice, were you able to stay aware of these different elements, or were you very distracted, okay? Sometimes as much as you try, there's a lot on your mind, it's hard to really tune in, but just forgive yourself for that. And just, you could always try it again. All right, just say, you know what, I did the best I can today. I'll try it again another day, All right. So if they were distractions, just note what they were, okay? Without judgment, what thoughts, emotions, or physical elements or external distractions were drawing your attention away, all right? And then if you happen to benefit from doing this, and it was a good mindfulness practice for you, which people sometimes prefer a moving mindfulness practice than a still mindfulness practice, especially if you're feeling a little restless. It might be easier to do a mindful walk than sit and do a mindful meditation on your breath, for example. Okay, so if this was a good resource for you and it was helped to focus and steady your mind, how could I use this in the future as a resource? Okay, one of my somatic resources could be a mindful walk, right? And that could help me to manage my emotions or stress, or bring myself back from a painful memory at another time. Okay, so you can put this in your toolbox if you'd like to. And that's it. Okay, so hope this helps you move through the world in a better way and a healthier way that's right for you at this time of your life. So thank you for joining me, and I'll be back again soon with lesson 32. All right, thanks everybody.